The anime begins by showing a young male student named Seigi, who comes to the rescue of a homeless man who was being attacked by thugs. The homeless man expresses his gratitude by giving Seigi a glass-like object, which Seigi finds to be a strange and mysterious object. As he holds it in his hand, the object emits light and causes Seigi to feel pain. To his surprise, the object transforms into a tattoo on his palm. The next morning, Seigi is running to meet his friend, Toko Ichinose, to head to school together. But as they're about to meet, a girl named Bluesy Floozy, also known as Izzy, appears out of nowhere and accidentally knocks Seigi to the ground. She apologizes profusely and tries to help him up, but as soon as their hands touch, a spark of energy jumps between them, leaving Izzy with a look of shock on her face. She quickly runs away, leaving Seigi confused and wondering what just happened. When Seigi arrives at school and tells his friends about the mysterious tattoo on his palm, his friend Juno Yutamori shares rumors he's heard about the United States developing cutting-edge weapons to fight against the Selenistan kingdom, and that these weapons may have been brought to Japan. However, they all remain unsure if the rumored weapon is in fact the tattoo on Seigi's palm. After school, Seigi accompanies his friend Toko while she goes shopping. As they are in the store, Seigi steps out to quickly inform his grandfather that he will be arriving home late. To his surprise, Izzy appears again and grabs his phone before running away. Seigi chases after her and finds her in an abandoned old building. While checking Seigi's phone, Izzy asked him where he had obtained the tattoo on his palm. When Seigi refused to answer, Izzy attacked him, but in the middle of the fight, she began to explain that the tattoo on Seigi's palm was actually a secret weapon belonging to the United States. Seigi, surprised by this revelation, manages to fend off her attack. But Izzy continues to attack him blindly, leaving him battered and cornered. Suddenly, she stops her attack and puts on an adorable face, apologizing for overreacting. Izzy begins to see Seigi's abilities and reveals that she too has a tattoo on her palm. She explains that the tattoo is named Terra, and that it can be activated by the user to increase physical abilities and bring about supernatural phenomena. She demonstrates how to activate the tattoo, using lime as a trigger to create wind bombs. After explaining all this to Seigi, she returns his phone and leaves the abandoned building. The next day, Izzy is seen meeting with her colleague Tom Shredfield. They have a mission to retrieve tattoos that have been scattered outside of the United States. Tom scolds Izzy for revealing too much information to Seigi. As time goes on, Seigi becomes aware that he is being followed, and one afternoon, he confronts Izzy and asks her to stop following him. He also asks her how to activate his own tattoo. Just as they are talking, a man runs toward them and Seigi intercepts him. It turns out that the man is being chased by Tom, who explains that the man is an illegal user of Terra and a member of the Mafia and that they need to take the Terra tattoo from him. The man activates his Terra and starts to fight Tom and the others. Seeing this, Izzy urges Seigi to fight the man so that he can discover how to trigger his own Terra. The battle is intense, but Seigi struggles because he does not know how to activate his Terra. Suddenly, when Seigi is injured, his Terra activates on its own, allowing him to defeat the man. However, Seigi also loses consciousness from the exertion. Izzy and Tom are shocked because they realize that Seigi's Terra is unlike any other they've seen. It's a Terra without a trigger, and is called the creator of emptiness. The next morning, Seigi wakes up in his room to find Izzy and Tom by his side. Izzy invites him to join her and Tom, explaining that they are both members of the United States military forces assigned to retrieve stolen tattoos from a rogue scientist. Tom also reveals that Seigi's Terra is one of their targets. However, they also inform him that removing a Terra once it has bonded with a person's body is extremely difficult, and can only be done by amputating the hand of the owner. Izzy also explains that Seigi's Terra has the ability to create emptiness by consuming matter within an enclosed space, but it is a dangerous power and difficult to control, which could even lead to Seigi's death. She offers to help him control it, but only if he joins their team. Seigi is initially angry, feeling that he has been used by Izzy and Tom. However, Izzy reiterates that the power of Terra is extremely powerful but also comes with great risks, and the decision is ultimately his to make. Izzy also explains that the risk associated with her Terra power has trapped her in the body of a teenage girl. She gives Seigi time to consider her offer. The next day, Seigi is shocked to see that Izzy has transferred to his school as a new student. During break time, Seigi takes her to the school rooftop and asks her why she has come to his school. Izzy tells him that it was to make it easier for him to meet with her if he decides to join her. Hearing this, Seigi asks about the potential risks associated with his Terra power. Tom appears and explains that the risks are unknown as each Terra has different abilities. Seigi inquires about what being in the United States Army means. Izzy responds that their main goal is to prevent war between the United States and the Kingdom of Selenistan, and also to target the power of Terra. In the end, Seigi accepts Izzy's invitation to join, but on the condition that if he feels that the actions of the United States military are wrong, he will use his power to defect and try to stop it. Izzy agrees to Seigi's terms and tells him that their team is called Blue Moon. Izzy then warns Seigi to be careful around blood, as she suspects that it may be the trigger for his Terra power. After school, Izzy returns home with Tom and decides not to report Seigi to the US military headquarters, because she fears that he would be used as a guinea pig by the military. Instead, she plans to help him learn to control his Terra powers and help them with their missions. Meanwhile, an old man named Master Genius is meeting with the princess of the Selenistan kingdom, Aryabhata, or Arya. He reports that he has purged the Selenistan kingdom's bodyguards, in accordance with Arya's orders. Arya is apparently planning a coup d'état to overthrow the Selenistan kingdom government led by her own father. In the meantime, Seigi is asked to come to Izzy's house, but while on his way, Toko is suddenly attacked by a girl named Iltutmish or Il. When Seigi arrives at Izzy's house, he finds only Tom there. Izzy calls him and explains that she's not home and asks him to stay with Tom. Tom then asks Seigi to take a cardboard box to the basement. Shortly after, Tom receives word from the United States military headquarters that Aryabhata has carried out a coup d'état in the kingdom of Selenistan, and has even killed the king of Selenistan kingdom. At the same time, Toko suddenly arrives at Izzy's house and immediately attacks Tom with an umbrella, looking for Seigi. Meanwhile, Izzy is at school installing a device to detect active Terra. Suddenly, a man named Laka appears, who is a member of Brahma, a Terra user military force formed by Aryabhata. He attacks Izzy because he wants to take the Terra without a trigger in Japanese territory and believes that she has information about it. Back with Seigi, he is facing off with Toko and realizes that her consciousness and body are being controlled by Il, another member of Brahma who wants to take Seigi's Terra. The injured Tom tells Seigi that the cardboard box he brought from the basement contains blood that will activate his Terra. As Seigi is about to use it, Toko kicks the box away from him. Elsewhere, Izzy continues to fight fiercely against Laka. She manages to activate her Terra and attacks him with a smoke bomb before leaving the school. Meanwhile, Toko and Seigi fight each other, but Seigi is unable to activate his Terra, despite using his own blood. However, when his Terra comes into contact with Tom's blood on Toko's umbrella, his power slowly activates, allowing him to read Toko's attack. Unfortunately, Seigi is unable to control his power. At the same time, Tom tries to expel Il, who has taken over Toko's body. When Toko is off guard, Tom asks Seigi to hold her in place, allowing him to expel Il. Il then attacks Tom, but Seigi intervenes and unconsciously uses his Void Creator technique, destroying everything in the vicinity including Izzy's house. Faced with Seigi's power, Il decides to retreat, failing to kill him. After the incident, Seigi undergoes training to control his Terra power with Izzy. Unexpectedly, Toko also receives a Terra tattoo on her forehead, which cannot be removed. Tom gives her a plaster to cover it. Unlike Seigi's and Toko's, Tom's Terra tattoo is a fake one, meaning it has limited powers and can only be used as an intermediary to reduce supernatural phenomena triggered by other tattoos. Izzy tests Seigi's progress by showing him a destroyed subject on a laptop screen and evaluating his ability to control his Terra. Unfortunately, Seigi is still unable to control his Terra power without a trigger, so Izzy asks him not to use it without her permission. She also asks him to train harder to improve his physical strength, explaining that his Terra power is the most powerful one, and the best way to maximize it is by compensating with physical strength. After that, she gives Seigi and Toko detection devices that will let them know if there is an active Terra user nearby. The next day, Izzy meets a woman named Lisa Lovelock, who is a Terra user of the United States military, and provides her with documents about their next target. Lisa then warns Izzy to be more cautious and focus on facing the attacks from the kingdom of Selenistan. Meanwhile, Il and Laka receive a new assignment from Aryabhata to take Terra from the United States, and their next target is Lisa. As time goes on, Seigi continues to train physically under Izzy's supervision. After 2 weeks of training with Terra, Seigi adapts well and becomes very compatible with his void creator Terra. Elsewhere, Lisa is seen meeting with her colleagues. Shortly after, Il arrives and kills all of Lisa's partners. Lisa activates her Terra using a lipstick trigger and successfully fights Il. Meanwhile, Toko and Izzy are out taking sports lessons. Toko surprises many people, including her teacher, by making an incredibly long jump. Izzy realizes that Toko's Terra is active and asks her to keep her power hidden. Not long after, Izzy receives a call from Tom, reporting that White Rose, Lisa's group, is asking for emergency help at their hideout. Hearing this, Izzy asks for permission from her teacher to leave early, and gives a warning to Seigi to catch up with her. Meanwhile, Lisa continues to fight Il but continues to get hit by Il's attacks. On the other hand, as Izzy is on her way, she suddenly collapses and is unable to move. Not long after, Laka appears in front of her, and she realizes that she has been trapped in a vibration field removal system installed by Laka. The tool used by Laka is able to withstand Terra's power, making the user immobile. But Laka has no intention of killing Izzy and simply leaves her there. Not long after, Seigi arrives at her location. Izzy is surprised when she sees that Seigi is able to move freely. Knowing this, Izzy then asks Seigi to go alone and save Lisa, and Seigi immediately leaves. When Seigi arrives at Lisa's headquarters, he is surprised to see that Lisa's colleagues have been killed. He goes to the roof of the building and sees Il holding Lisa hostage. Emotional, Seigi attacks Il but is thrown off the roof by her. Luckily, he is saved by Tom, who then asks Seigi not to face the enemy, as his whereabouts are very secret. Not long after, Laka arrives and he and Il leave with Lisa. Seigi goes back to school and meets Toko, who has been waiting for him. Toko asks him what happened, but Seigi refuses to answer and the two of them fight instead. Meanwhile, Izzy and Tom visit White Rose's headquarters and find Lisa's cell phone, which contains a recording. After listening to the recording, Izzy orders Tom to contact headquarters and ask for reinforcements. After school, Seigi and Toko go to Izzy's house. When they arrive in the basement, Izzy suddenly handcuffs Seigi and leaves. Tom, who stays with Seigi and Toko, explains that it is a protective measure so that Seigi is not involved in Lisa's rescue operation because Seigi may be captured by the enemy. He also explains to Seigi why Toko has been detained, as he and Izzy suspect that Toko's Terra, a special power that certain individuals possess, is reacting to the presence of Il's Terra. This revelation enrages Seigi, as he is determined to save Lisa at all costs. Fueled by his determination and frustration, Seigi uses all his strength to forcibly remove the handcuffs, causing his hand to bleed and activating his Terra power. In a fit of anger, he attacks Tom and escapes with Toko. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Izzy leads a rescue operation for Lisa with a team of specialists. They intercept Laka's truck and engage in a fierce battle with him. Tom, who regained consciousness after the altercation with Seigi, quickly gives directions to Izzy and the others who are in the field. Seigi and Toko also manage to reach the attack site and come face to face with Il. Seigi immediately engages in a fight with Il, but he is quickly overpowered by Il's crushing attack. As the situation looks dire, Seigi and Toko hear Tom's voice coming from an intercom nearby. Tom then requests Toko to hand the intercom to Seigi. Seigi manages to catch the intercom that Toko throws at him. Tom explains how to defeat Il, and reveals that Il's main ability is to disguise herself, but it will not work if someone is watching her. With this information, Seigi closes his eyes and manages to avoid Il's attack. As he is about to strike back, Toko suddenly shouts, causing Il's attack to hit Seigi with full force. It becomes clear that Toko's shout was a distraction that allowed Il to strike because it meant that Toko was not watching Il closely. Meanwhile, in the truck, Lisa awakens from her unconscious state, due to the commotion caused by Il's cat. She manages to escape the truck unnoticed. As the fight between Seigi, Toko joins the fray, determined to protect Seigi. Her own Terra power activates, and she absorbs Ill's Terra power as their Terra powers are interconnected. As the battle rages on, Seigi finds himself struggling with the influence of the power of emptiness, which tries to convince him to obliterate everything that exists. But Seigi refuses to give in, and instead regains consciousness, and creates an empty space technique to attack Ill and save Toko. But just as they think the fight is over, Arya appears behind Seigi and reveals that she had come to save Ill. She tells Seigi that she desires his Terra power and then, along with Ill, disappears into the shadows. Meanwhile, Izzy continues to engage in a fierce battle with Laka. Through her determination, she figures out that Laka's power is the ability to hold heavy objects. Using a wind gun, she manages to bring him down. However, she is trapped in the vibration field that Laka had set up. Just as Laka is about to attack her, Lisa comes to her rescue, and with the help of the remaining troops, they shoot Laka until he is killed, bringing an end to the mission and ensuring their success. Arya appears at the location of Izzy and Lisa, admits defeat for the time being, and withdraws. She tells Seigi that he needs to learn how to use his Terra power. After the incident, Izzy is summoned by the headquarters and meets with General Shogun. The general asks her to keep an eye on Seigi and persuade him to take part in their research. On the other hand, Seigi and Toko unexpectedly run into Arya and Ill while they are out shopping. Arya invites Seigi to meet her in the park to talk. At the park, Seigi expresses his desire to know everything. Arya offers to tell him everything, as long as he is willing to come with her. But Seigi does not give her an answer and chooses to leave, leaving the possibility of their next encounter open-ended. In the afternoon, Seigi meets with Izzy and Tom. He tells them that he wants to find out the truth from the point of view of the United States and from Izzy. Izzy explains that the United States wants to prevent war by using Terra, as it is a safer option than nuclear bombs. The next day, Seigi is confronted by a man named Brad Blackstone, a former member of Brahman who is now opposed to the Selenistan kingdom. Brad beats Seigi and takes him away, and then calls Izzy to inform him of the situation. Brad takes Seigi to the Selenistan Kingdom's Tattoo Research Center in Japan, where he explains that the Selenistan Kingdom is researching a vibration field remover, a system that interferes with the performance of the human brain, rendering the use of Terra powers ineffective. The two men enter the laboratory and Seigi realizes that Brad's Terra is identical to his own. Brad explains that their tattoos are one of 4 pieces, one belonging to the United States, 2 belonging to the Selenistan Kingdom, and 1 remaining in Japan. Meanwhile, Arya and Ill are navigating a tunnel, guided by a woman named Kel Shaker, the vice captain of the Brahman force. Back in Seigi, he and Brad meet Master Genius, who points out several people who are the subjects of his experiments. Master Genius explains that these people have been implanted with a fake Terra and orders them to attack Brad and Seigi. In the middle of the fight, Master Genius reveals that the people they are fighting have bombs implanted inside their bodies, and if they lose consciousness, the bombs will explode. Brad quickly activates his Terra power to create an empty space in the room, allowing him to repel the attacks from the trial subjects. He manages to eliminate the bombs without causing harm to the subjects. The vibration field elimination device activated by Master Genius is also ineffective against Brad. Brad intends to attack Marissa, who is Master Genius's assistant, but Master Genius gets in the way. Seigi then reminds Brad that killing the 2 men is not the form of justice they seek, as they have harmed innocent people. Brad ultimately attacks Master Genius and Marissa but chooses not to kill them, so they can be held accountable for their actions. Meanwhile, Arya, Ill, and Cal arrive at a location where there is a green crystal. Arya enters the crystal, mentioning the names of Seigi and Brad. Brad later meets a man named Wiseman, who is revealed to be the one who gave Seigi his Terra tattoo. Brad gives him the information data he obtained from the Selenistan Kingdom's laboratory. Sometime later, Brad decides to train Seigi so that he can create the smallest emptiness technique possible, as the emptiness technique has enormous power and the potential to be a powerful weapon. Not long after, Izzy meets with Brad, a former United States soldier. Brad informs Izzy that the current problem is very serious and that Arya wants to collect the 4 ruins of Terra's binding to be able to rule the world. He asks Izzy to overcome the ruins in the Grand Canyon, while he will take on Arya alone. Trusting Brad, Izzy agrees to the plan. In a final push to prevent the war and defeat Arya, a united force consisting of Izzy, Tom, Seigi, Toko, Lisa, General Shogun, Lieutenant Wang, Captain Johnson, Major Byrne as well as 20 soldiers who have been implanted with fake Terra, carry out an operation to ambush the ruins where Arya and her troops are located. They use their combined skills, training, and Terra powers to finally defeat Arya and her forces. On the other hand, Brad modifies his tattoo code and asks Wiseman to let him go because he wants to help Izzy. However, Wiseman does not allow it, as he believes it to be too dangerous, as Arya is currently with Brahma's army and has a powerful Terra. He warns Brad that this may be a trap set by Arya. As the US forces arrive at the site and open fire, attacking the Aryan ruins and troops, Captain Johnson disembarks from a helicopter to get closer to the wreckage, but is immediately killed by Cal, who was waiting there with her sword. Meanwhile, in the rubble, Arya lends her Terra's power to Il, so that he can assist Cal in blocking the United States troops. Returning to Cal, she is able to block the US troops with ease, overwhelming them. Seigi disembarks from the helicopter and is about to head towards Arya's location, but is defeated by Cal. Shortly after, Il appears and activates her Terra power, transforming into a large animal and attacking the US troops' helicopters. Seeing this, Izzy realizes that the US troops are no match for the Selenistan kingdom. On the other hand, General Shogun manages to save Toko from Cal's attack and directly attacks Cal. At the same time, Izzy comes to General Shogun's aid and the three of them engage in a fierce fight. Unfortunately, General Shogun is defeated by Cal, and Izzy is also injured by Cal's attack. As Cal is about to deliver the final blow, Brad intervenes and comes to Izzy's rescue. Brad, fueled by a desire to avenge his fallen comrades, Izzy realized that this battle was a trap set by Cal to lure Brad out and capture Seigi's Terra. Seigi, who was still a distance away from Brad and Izzy, had been caught by Arya and was being detained and tortured. Using his knowledge of Cal's fighting style, Brad tried to provoke her emotions and goad her into attacking him. He had made preparations before arriving at the location and was ready for the fight. The battle between Brad and Cal was intense. He asked Izzy to take care of Seigi and ensure his safety. Meanwhile, Lisa continued to fight against Aryan's servants, managing to overcome them and finding General Shogun seriously injured. She immediately called for help to evacuate him. The command was taken over by Major Byrne, who ordered the entire force to retreat, rescue survivors, and transport the dead as much as possible. Tom was ordered to take Toko away from the battlefield. As the battle continued, Seigi remained a prisoner of Arya, who sought to prevent him from using his void technique. Arya taunted Seigi, claiming that he did not understand the true purpose of a Terra without a trigger, and refused to reveal it to him. Meanwhile, Toko, who had been escorted by Tom to safety, broke away, determined to rescue Seigi. Despite Tom's efforts to stop her, his Terra's power faded and he was out of triggers. As the battle raged on, Lisa and Byrne worked together to fight against Il. They managed to trap her, but their success was short-lived as Il broke free and attacked them both. In her transformed state, Il was about to strike Lisa when Byrne stepped in to protect her. He kicked Lisa away and blew himself up along with Il, sacrificing himself to save Lisa and end the threat of Il. Meanwhile, Izzy had arrived at Seigi's location, but his plan failed as Arya was already aware of his intentions and had trapped him with her Terra's power. As the battle between Brad and Cal continued, Brad had broken Cal's sword twice, yet she remained unyielding and determined to kill him. Seigi, who had finally learned of Arya's plan to become a god by using Terra's power, begged his Terra soul to match Arya's power so that he could escape her trap and help Brad.
Good job, Seigi!
In the end, Brad managed to defeat Cal, but with his mission accomplished, Brad asked Seigi to devour him, as the rest of the mission had to be completed by Seigi himself. Seigi refused, but Brad spoke directly to Seigi's Terra soul, causing it to devour Brad, killing him in the process.
Izzy.
As the battle came to an end, Toko arrived at Seigi's location, but to their surprise, Il was still alive and had already sneaked up behind her. Seigi was shocked and could do nothing to stop it. It was later revealed that this was all part of Arya's plan to make Seigi feel hopeless and desire to take revenge so that one day he would come to her. With their mission to kill Brad accomplished, Arya and Il left the scene to move on to their next objective. Seigi was left alone to mourn the loss of his friend. Elsewhere, Seigi met with wise men who revealed that the fuel that triggers the power of Terra is the energy of the Terra user's soul. While this allows Terra users to wield immense power, it also means that their own souls will eventually be devoured by Terra's soul. This was the reason why Brad had asked Seigi to devour him, as he didn't want to be consumed by his own Terra. Soon after, Izzy, who had lost her left hand, appeared and was about to shoot Wiseman. But Wiseman stated that he would carry on Brad's wishes and invited the two of them to join him and trust him. He revealed his goal to destroy all Terra tattoos on Earth, as he believes that they are the source of all the violence and conflict in the world. Wiseman took them to his lab, where he explained that the machine he had built contained Brad's memories, including Seigi's past and future. Seigi, curious about Brad's past and the reasons for his actions, enters the machine and begins to see Brad's past. Brad had been deliberately recruited by Arya to join Brahma's army. Arya was drawn to Brad's skills as a former United States soldier, and gave him a Terra tattoo without triggering it. Brad then met a member of Brahma named Varma. From the beginning, Brad had intended to destroy Terra's tattoos, but the United States military did not have the resources to do so, so he joined the Selenistan kingdom. As Brad traveled around, he met Cal and she told him that if he could go around the palace, he was forbidden to approach a place called Samsara. Brad then began to uncover the truth behind the Terra tattoos and the true purpose of Brahma's army. Suspicious of the forbidden place called Samsara, Brad secretly stalked it and thought of ways to get inside. Unexpectedly, he met Varma, who was also stalking Arya, as he suspected that she was acting suspiciously, and began to interrogate him. It turns out that Varma was a spy sent by the king of Selenistan, Edward, to spy on Arya. Shortly thereafter, a girl named Ganesha appeared, who was the protector of Samsara. Ganesha attacked Brad, and Varma quickly fled. Brad also chose to withdraw to avoid arousing suspicion from Arya. Afterward, Varma invited Brad to meet with King Edward. Brad then explained his true goal for coming to the Selenistan kingdom to King Edward. King Edward then ordered Varma to work with Brad to keep an eye on Arya, as they both shared a common goal of uncovering the truth and stopping her plans. Sometime later, Arya gave Brad his first assignment, to go with Cal to guard the first ruins and to finish off any enemies that they came across. Arriving at the first ruins, Brad saw that the ruins were being guarded by the United States Army, so he immediately paralyzed them. Cal then asked Brad to kill the United States soldiers, but Brad refused, so Cal ultimately finished them off. Half a year later, Brad and Varma attempted to infiltrate Samsara again. They both returned to face Ganesha, but this time Brad had known the trigger of Ganesha's tattoo and her weakness, so he managed to defeat her. Brad and Varma then dug into the ground to reach Samsara, but after reaching the end, they met with Arya's sister named Julie. Julie then took Brad and Varma on a tour of Samsara, and they saw many girls, who looked similar to Arya, locked up in glass tubes. Julie explained that all of this was done by King Edward after he discovered the ruins and the potential power of Terra tattoos. King Edward intended to develop it and create users of Terra tattoos by conducting experiments on humans, resulting in the deaths of 3,000 people. Arya turned out to be a product created by King Edward that could be considered almost perfect, while Julie and the others inside Samsara were products of failure. Not only that, but Julie also revealed that their souls were connected to Arya. However, she also mentioned that among them, there were also souls who opposed Arya and some who supported her. At one point, Arya finally discovered that she was the result of King Edward's experiments, thus she became determined to seek revenge on him. As Brad and Varma were gathering information from Samsara with the help of Julie, Cal received reports from the souls who supported Arya about the presence of intruders and rushed to Samsara. Brad and Varma attempted to escape, but they were met by Cal and Varma was hit by Cal's attack. Meanwhile, Arya mobilized all her troops to find Brad. Brad, with the injured Varma in tow, made his way to King Edward. King Edward then asked Brad to leave the Selenistan kingdom, providing him with a way to escape. In the end, Brad left the Selenistan kingdom, leaving behind the conflict and the struggle he had been a part of. Back in the present, Seigi reunites with Brad and asks him to continue his struggle, as it is the dream of many. With a heavy heart, knew that Seigi was right and that the fight against the Terra tattoos and the ones who seek to use them for their own gain must continue. 1 year later, Seigi and Izzy were living in hiding on a mountain, as requested by Wiseman. Although Brad had asked Izzy to follow Wiseman, she still had her doubts about him, thinking that he was just a mad scientist obsessed with Terra tattoos. On the other hand, Seigi believed that Wiseman was still a valuable partner, as he trusted Brad. In that place, Seigi and Izzy lived together with Tom and a man named Tamaki. The four of them continued to train for the fight, and Izzy also trained to use artificial hands. One day, Izzy received a call from Wiseman saying that the Selenistan kingdom had already located their hideout. At the same time, Seigi discovered a cassette tape containing videos of Arya. They went back to the headquarters to watch the video. In the video, Arya said that she and her Brahmin force were going to the third ruin in the Grand Canyon. Arya invited Seigi to come with them, and she also featured Lisa, who turned out to be alive. Knowing this, Izzy and Seigi decided to go and save Lisa, but Wiseman forbids them and said that Seigi must fight when Arya activates the crystal in the ruins. Wiseman also explained that he would plant a virus on Seigi's Terra to damage the ruins, but because the virus was not finished, Wiseman asked Seigi and his friends to hide first. Surprisingly, Izzy pointed a gun at Wiseman, forcing him to allow them to leave for the United States, as they must rescue Lisa first. Izzy, Tamaki, and Tom prepared to risk their lives and promised to bring Seigi back alive. Meanwhile, in Green Canyon, United States, Master Genius reappeared to help Arian fight the air forces of the United States Army. The situation was becoming increasingly dire, and Seigi and his team knew that they had to act fast if they wanted to save Lisa and put an end to Arya's plans. In the meantime, on the ground, the American soldiers were engaged in a fierce battle against the Brahmin army. General Shogun gave commands while Izzy, Tamaki, and Tom, who were also in Green Canyon, had to hide to ensure Seigi's safety. Unfortunately, they were not able to find Arya, so Tamaki devised a new strategy. He asked Seigi and Tom to go to the ruins first, while he and Izzy would help the United States Army before overtaking the ruins. Tamaki then engaged in a confrontation with one of the Brahmin members named Chika, who had just appeared in the battle. Meanwhile, Izzy was attacked by Lisa, who was possessed by ill. To her surprise, she found that Laka was also alive and was keeping an eye on her. They fought fiercely against each other. General Shogun was suddenly attacked by Cal. Just as Cal was about to kill General Shogun, Arya appeared and forbade her to do so, and Cal retreated. On the other hand, Seigi and Tom arrived at the ruins, and Seigi used the void technique to penetrate the ground, finally managing to enter the ruins. Unexpectedly, Cal was already there, and she attacked Seigi, but Seigi managed to dodge. The two of them engaged in a fierce fight, and now they both had become stronger. Meanwhile, Izzy struggled as she had to face Lisa and Laka, who also began to attack. Tony and Lawrence were Izzy's partners. Izzy focused on fighting Lisa while Tony and Lawrence fought Laka. Despite the emotional turmoil of fighting her former friend, Izzy fought seriously, determined to put an end to Lisa's possession by ill. In the end, Izzy managed to defeat Lisa, while Laka managed to injure Tony and kill Lawrence. When Laka was about to kill Tony, he was hit by Izzy's bullet, and the bullet was a special bullet that contained snake venom, so Laka was killed. Meanwhile, Tamaki managed to corner Chika. Chika then surrounded herself with explosives, saying that if Tamaki wanted to kill her, he would die in the explosion with her. But just as Tamaki was about to attack, Laka's body flew and hit Chika, causing both of them to explode. Izzy and Tamaki soon caught up to Seigi in the ruins, and they saw him still fighting fiercely against Cal. Cal then explains that Arya had done all of this for the sake of her sisters. She wanted them to unite by using the crystal power in the ruins and producing great power. Seigi was pushed back by Cal, but suddenly Cal saw Brad's shadow and it caught her off guard. Seigi then took advantage of the opportunity and managed to launch an attack on Cal, ultimately defeating her. Shortly after, Arya appears and Seigi tries to attack her. Unfortunately, Seigi's efforts were unsuccessful, as Terra's power could not be used in the presence of Arya. Tom, who was standing guard outside the hole, panicked, as the hole had been sealed shut due to Seigi's fight against Arya. Meanwhile, Master Genius, who had helped Arya fight against the United States helicopter troops, was being pushed back. In a desperate move, Master Genius sacrificed himself by detonating a powerful attack, but it opened up the hole leading into the ruins once again. Izzy, Tamaki, and Tom quickly followed Seigi into the rubble. They came across the surviving General Shogun. The general implored them to leave him behind, as he felt fine and knew that Seigi was more important. Despite their reluctance, Izzy, Tamaki, and Tom reluctantly followed Seigi deeper into the ruins, but they were horrified to find him gravely injured and bleeding. As the battle raged on, the army forces contacted General Shogun and offered to pick him up and retreat. But the general refused, telling the troops to retreat and abandon him. Izzy, Tamaki, and Tom quickly worked to save Seigi, but his ability to recover was limited as he had reached the limits of his powers. Izzy and Tamaki decided to buy some time by fighting Arya, while Tom helped Seigi out of the ruins to safety. On their way out, Tom and Seigi met up with General Shogun, who had been rescued by his troops. Back in the ruins, Izzy and Tamaki fought bravely against Arya, but her immense strength was too much for them to handle. Despite mastering the power of the crystal in the ruins, Arya still did not possess the key to unlocking its full potential, Seigi. As the situation grew dire, General Shogun considered using a nuclear bomb to defeat Arya, even if it meant sacrificing them all. But as he prepared to launch the attack, a miracle occurred. The bomb malfunctioned and did not detonate. As Seigi lay unconscious in the helicopter, he suddenly jumped out, capturing Izzy and promising to rescue her. But as they fell, they were both devoured by Arya's Terra soul. Amazingly, they both survived. Wiseman, who had been observing the situation, saw the opportunity to turn Arya's mistakes to his advantage. He revealed to her that the fuel for Terra was none other than her own sisters, and that through physical contact with Seigi, he had been able to successfully seal Arya's Terra tattoo. Not only that, Seigi's Terra soul finally manifested due to his strong determination to protect Izzy. His Terra soul directly fought against Arya's Terra soul. But unfortunately, Seigi was not yet able to fully control it. As a result, Arya was able to defeat him and knock him down. Tom, who had been observing the battle from the helicopter, shouted out to Seigi, urging him not to give up and to continue fighting for justice in the world. Hearing Tom's encouragement, Seigi regained consciousness and stood up to continue his fight against Arya. He realized that the fuel for Arya's Terra soul came from her sisters and that she was determined to quickly end the fight to release them from their burden. Despite this, Seigi was equally determined to protect Arya and her sisters. With renewed determination, Seigi and Arya engaged in a fierce battle, their Terra souls evenly matched in strength. However, Seigi had the upper hand in terms of martial arts training and was able to overpower Arya. During the battle, Seigi managed to rescue Izzy. With Izzy safe, Seigi redoubled his efforts and attacked Arya, who was becoming increasingly desperate. Finally, Seigi was able to defeat Arya, bringing the fight to an end. Wiseman, who had been observing the battle from the sidelines, was pleased with the outcome as it went according to his expectations. The anime concludes with a final scene of Seigi holding Izzy's hand as she lay unconscious. He expresses his gratitude to her and his other friends for their help and support, and acknowledges that it is thanks to them that he was able to survive and achieve his goals. The moral that can be learned from this anime is to not hesitate to help others, as one never knows what kind of strength and power one may gain through their actions. Just like Seigi, we may all be capable of great things when we come to the aid of those in need.